Hi, everybody. Thanks for taking some of your afternoon to spend it with me. I saw some of you this morning in the thin imaging talk, and all I can say is, that's your own fault now. You came back on your own volition. So today I'm going to talk about practical packaging. This talk will be heavily towards what I call packaging theory, and why or why not to use a package. We're going to talk about some of the tools, and then we're going to do a very little bit of demo at the end of a couple of tools that we can use. That's probably the weakest part of my presentation. I know much more about the upfront part. The demo itself will be pretty quick, and I'll try to answer all the questions you have. I cannot guarantee I'll have it all for you, but we'll make it work, all right? So, I'm with College of Arts and Letters at Notre Dame. Been there since July of 2010, and my job is to be part of a team of 6 that supports the faculty and staff in the college. We have about 800 Macs, and then I serve as a subject matter expert, for lack of a better term, for the university as a whole. I don't think my mic's on. How about now? Yeah? All right. Okay. I'm loud. There's my email address. If you have any questions, there's my my Twitter handle. If you have any questions. So here's our agenda. Why would we package in the first place? Like I said, for those of you who were at the boot camp yesterday, I'm guessing most everybody in this room has downloaded or found a package and installed it, right? Pretty easy. No real learning curve to get there. You double click, you go, you're done. But raise your hand if you've actually built a package yourself. Okay. So we're going to talk about, for those of you who are already familiar, why you build a package. Those of you who haven't built a package, why would I build a package? I mean, they're very cool, but if you look on the backside, actually constructing one, it's a little different. It can be a little intimidating. Why would you use a package? Different types of uses for packages. You might think, oh, I just put my application and I install it. Well, there's a lot of cool things we can do with packages other than, here's my application, go install it. Some tenets of packaging. These have been shamelessly stolen from a compilation from some Mac Enterprise discussions that happened a while back. That webpage is actually not live anymore. I have posted a PDF of it on my Box account, and I'll have a link to it at the end of the talk. But some things to keep in mind when you are packaging. Packaging tools, some different tools that are available. And then we'll cover 2 of them in the demo, specifically packages, appropriately named, and then Apple's command line replacement tools for PackageMaker, which are called Package Build and Product Build. We'll talk about resources. I think in resources I just have that link, and then we'll have a Q&A. So I think I already said this. I'm an IT support manager or engineer. About 800 Macs. Very, very little lab use. I think my biggest lab is 2. And they're just student walk-up stations. So why would we package? So I want to get some things from the audience. Why do you package? What's the purpose? Okay, and what's your management system? Okay, so deploy through Absolute. On the back? That's an excellent reason. Yeah. The chosen method. It is the Highlander of installation methods. Yeah. Time saver. Excellent. All great reasons. Yes, customization. Very good. So you hit on a lot of the high points. And I came across this about a week ago, and this really just emboldened me to do this talk even more. So I'll let you read through it. So as I read through that, I thought, yeah, that's exactly why I do a package. And this is some guy who's, I'm sure, a self-proclaimed power user. Because no actual power user would call themselves that. It's always the people who would, I do my own system and this and this. And so he doesn't like packages because they can touch any part of the system they want. That's cool. I want that. I want to control it, but I want to do that. Make sure the app's installed in applications. Yes, I definitely want that. So they say I can handle this myself. a lot of people that you and I might see in our jobs maybe try to do it themselves and don't get the result that you want, or you want to control some amount of that experience. So why do we package? My biggest single one is portability, above all else. With a package, it can go basically anywhere and be just as useful. Equal usability. So we have to consider there's a huge amount of variability in the end user environment. We don't know necessarily what OS they're going to be on. If you're in an environment like mine, where you have a mix of institutionally owned computers and bring your own device, I can't tell if it's mine or not. So I have to adjust for that. I don't know what the hardware specs are. I don't know a lot of things. Also, although I know what my admin toolset is today, I cannot for sure tell you what it's going to be in a year, or 2 years, or 5 years. So I need a way to distribute stuff to the end user without knowing hardly anything except that it's going to be on OS X. So how do I accomplish that? The nice thing about packages is that when I move tools, I can use the same package. So how many of us are using GIMP? Now Monkey. Now Absolute. Quest? Just me? Yeah, I thought so. The package works all across those. Remote desktop? Package works. Yeah. Cool. It doesn't matter what I'm on. The package is understood. It's called the lingua franca for OS X, and Jeremy Reichman coined that term. I just ripped it off of the slide. But it's true. You put it on a Mac, the Mac says, okay, I know what to do with this. We've all seen examples of third-party installers like InstallerVise. Oh, yeah. It's funny they're not as busy today as they were. But when you get in that proprietary system, you got to stick in that. And, that works okay on OS X. I hope it's a universal binary. If not, you got to rebuild it. And then who knows what's going to work. And if I can't take that to Absolute, I can't take that to Monkey. I can't take that somewhere else. So it doesn't really fit that portability piece. Installer will change over time. The installer app will change over time. And different details about what's in or out of the installer will change. But package files and meta package files will continue to be understood and recognized. So when you're planning for the future and thinking about how do I build this system up so I can use it 5 years from now, packages and meta packages allow you to do that. It's a very important piece. And like we've already talked about, other vendors support packages because of that low barrier to entry. And there's existing usage of it. If I'm a developer, I definitely want to make it in a package format, not a custom installer. There's lots of examples of this. HP and Xerox put a lot of InstallerVise-based or custom installer-based packages that are impossible to work with. I can't push it out over ARD. It's a mess. It costs me more time than it would otherwise. Parallels 8. Parallels 7 had it fine. It was a regular PackageMaker or regular installer package. I could push it over ARD. I could do whatever I wanted. It worked great. And then Parallels 8. And now they have their own installer. And if you look in the background, it's just running CP and just pushing files where they need to go and doing a whole bunch of other stuff. But it's not a package anymore. So I have reduced functionality in the new version. So if you're looking at this, I would encourage you to use packages for that reason. So portability we've talked about. Let's talk about ease of use for the user. And we know that the users are all really concerned with making our lives as easy as possible, right? They always think about for those emails. But for users, we want to make their lives easier, right? Even if they don't always return the favor. So my analogy is that users are to installer packages as admins are to server.app. Now, a lot of people have complaints about server.app. took away functionality, this and this and this. But the reality is that I can give a package to a user and very specifically control what they can and can't do, like what Apple did with server.app. We may not like it, and the user may not like it, but it's something they can use. We don't have to be there. And it's very focused. There are benefits and drawbacks for everybody involved. People complain about, like the guy I quoted, I don't like packages because they just put stuff in applications. I can do that myself. Okay. Not everybody can do it themselves. I can't expect that everyone's like that guy. So I need to make it easier for everybody. Users don't have to understand the complexity. Everybody here knows how to install a package. My grandma can install a package. It really lowers that barrier. We as the admins can build that result without changing their behavior or without frustrating them. You ever been on the phone with a user? All right, go to System Preferences. Now go into Accounts. Now click the padlock. No, not that one. Lower left hand. Oh, no. It's hard. But if I can say double-click this and install, okay, they got that. So they're not frustrated, they're not having to change their behavior, and you get the result you want. And when you combine it with admin tools like Jamf, or Remote Desktop, or Monkey, or whatever you have, they may not even see you doing the things. You may get the result you want, and they're not even aware you're doing it. And that's not bad. Now, it's not like we're trying to hide what we're doing from the users. But if we can get a report, or get a preference change, so they're happy, we don't have to go around and interrupt every one of them, that's a good thing. We can also benefit from the logic in packages. I mean that it's not just sitting there saying, all right, this file goes here, this file goes here, this file goes here, done. There's a lot more to it than that. You can make them very simple, and then in the demo it'll be a very simple package. We can do very complex ones with a lot of pre-flight, post-flight scripts. If this, then this, and what's the hardware like, and what's the software like, and all that. You can make them very complex. We can add logic to make sure the installations are successful regardless of the environment. So I don't want to give a package to somebody and then it doesn't work. Oh, well, you're on this OS, you gotta do this package instead. See a lot of printer drivers especially. If you're on 10.5, here's your installer. 10.6, here it is. 10.7, here it is. 10.8, here it is. You and I all know what the OS is, but again, we can't count on the user to know that inherently. And by installing the wrong package, if it's not doing this logic for us, it could actually make things worse than not having installed anything. So we need to be cognizant of that. But we can add that to packages. And we can add logic, so depending on the environment, potential conflicts, we can solve things. Imagine if McAfee or Norton spent 5 minutes to add logic to their installer to say, if the other guy is installed, at least warn the user that their machine's going to go to hell. Why don't they do that? But no, they don't. And how easy it is to check. If this file exists, they've probably got Symantec, and we probably need to say something. Seems simple to us, right? Now, there's a lot of talk about backward compatibility, but I see a lot of benefit in forward compatibility as well. We're all managing systems ranging from, let's say, 10.5 to 10.8. We're going to have 10.9 this summer. And I guarantee the packages I have today will work with 10.9. For some of the crazier ones that modify system files, those might have to change because the underlying system changes, but the format itself is good. Install that app will read my packages. Monkey will work. That's all good. So the structure of the package, the format is the same. All we have to do when we're modifying system stuff is modify where that stuff changes. But the package itself is good. Operating system we know is going to change. architecture won't never going to change. Let's say it's 5 years from now we're on ARM processors instead of Intel. Apple has to worry about that. We don't. Because install that app's going to work. We already moved once, right? Going to move again. Maybe 20 years out, but move. And then as your management tools change, for those of you in the morning session, you know that I was using Monkey, and then I was told to stop using Monkey. So I went to Quest, which uses packages. So my time rebuilding was 0. So I saved myself that time. What's nice is that, it's, like it said, it's a collection of files. It's not an app like InstallerVise, or like one of these custom installers you see like from Parallels. Installer app is free and has guaranteed longevity, and of course, this is Apple, so there is actually no guaranteed longevity. So everything is null and void at their discretion. But if you look at installer.app, when did that debut? 10.4, before that. So we've had basically the same 10.3. We've had the same installer app, geez, last almost a decade, because that system works. And even in the background, buying apps to the App Store, the background process is the installer process. So it's the same underlying process that they've used all this time. So why would I use a package? Or what uses do we have for packages, I should say? Any questions so far? This is not a formal talking yell or screamer. Yeah.
For those of us that are using Canvas, I the training. Yeah, sure, we can handle tax files. We can also handle DMG files.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to DMG files, that's guaranteed that you can actually remove it.
Remove the...
Whatever you install.
Yeah, I would not... Yeah, Jamf has that ability, and Monkey has the uninstallability. So you can, for optional installs, you can pull them back out. But that's feature specific. And there is no uninstall ability built into installer. Yeah, you can use the receipts to sort of find out where you're supposed to be. But that is still Jamf specific. Now, DMGs are another good way, and I'm still a Monkey user, so we all know we can wrap an application like Firefox and a DMG and it just takes care of it. It's one of those what we call drag and drop installs. And that's all fine, but it doesn't have the portability of something like a package. So I can, and we'll talk about that a little bit, but you'll see things like remote desktop. Can I deploy a DMG to a user? Yeah, and they just have a DMG, and they still have to open it, drag it, and do everything correctly for it to work. Whereas a package, it just goes in the background, it's there. I always like talking to my users, and they say, hey, I need FileMaker 12. Open a remote desktop, find the machine, say, okay, wait about 2 minutes, and you'll have it. Really? And sure enough, hey, that's cool, it's there. They never saw anything, it just showed up, because I used the package. So what can we use packages for? How about app distribution? Pretty easy. What we're probably most commonly familiar with. And I do say even for drag and drop installers like Firefox, Chrome, Evernote, stuff like that. And you might say, but that's the whole point of a drag and drop, is that I don't need a package. But it's not as easy as you think. The package does prevent users from misunderstanding instructions and the matter disk image, and this is a good example here for Firefox. To most of us, this makes sense. So without any words, they're trying to describe something to do to install their app, right? So they're saying you need to, drag this to applications? Okay, sure. Now, how many times have you gone to a user's computer, they double click on that. They're running it from the image. I've seen that with Skype too. Every time Skype is set to auto load, because it does that handily, thinking of course you want Skype running a login. And so the image mounts and the Skype mounts, and what are you doing? So this is It's supposed to be clear, and you and I understand that, but the user may not. I see a lot of people who drag the Firefox image into applications, and of course it makes an alias, so they've got like 16 Firefox aliases, and they're still launching it from the image. So packages can work here. It's also nice to install it to a custom location of your choosing. If I have Evernote, but I don't want it in applications, maybe I want it in the user's home folder's applications folder. Very hard to describe in IKEA type instructions, but I can make an installer that puts it exactly where I want. Also great for custom installs. Let's say I don't have just an app, but I have an app plus the registration or serial number, plus the settings, plus login items. Try to tell a user to do that themselves? No, it's not going to happen. So what we can do is we can wrap all those up into a package, and then it's taken care of. And all I do is double-click and go. It's also good for what we call payload-free packages. Anybody use those before? Yeah. So a payload-free package is basically a package that does not contain any installer files. All it does is run a script. And this was sort of a hack previous to 10.8, but Apple actually now, and we'll talk about this a little bit, in the package build process, they actually have a flag for payload free, because I understand people are using it for this. So what's the point of a payload free package? I mean, the whole point of installer is to install stuff, right? So this is my most weird situation, and it's actually happened to me before. And this never, ever goes well. And they're inevitably in Greece or a mountaintop in the Netherlands. Hey, how do I... Oh, God. This never goes well. So what we can do is basically package a script execution. And again, it's the same experience for them. Open up, double-click, install. Done. And I can execute extremely complex scripts without them having to deal with it at all. Same portability. I can take this to Jamf. I can take it to Monkey. I can take it to Quest. I can take it to Absolute, whatever I'm using. It's the same package. Same package I put in Jamf, I can hand to him, and I can put online. It's portability. Equally simple for the users, like we've talked about. You can have logic in the script of the package, or both. You can determine, how do you know if it was successful? A lot of packages run, and there's no logic to determine, did this actually work? The package just says, okay, I'm done, and they're out. So you can actually add logic to figure out if it was successful or not through scripts. We can also blend the two together. I'll do this a lot. This is for situations really not addressed by one or the other. So let's say I have files and I need to run a script. The script may be directly affecting the files, or maybe, let's say in the case of Monkey, there's some launch daemons I need to load. So I'll install the files, and I'll have a post-install script that actually loads those launch daemons on the fly. Again, expecting a user to go into the terminal and do that is not realistic. But we can address that in a script, in an installer that has a script, and it's taken care of. So here's an example. We need to install files in the user's library/application support folder. I don't have an actual use for this, I just made this up. And we need to set the permissions for that user. So how do we do this? How would you do it without a package? Chown, yeah. But who does the chown? Yeah, you do, right? And when you're trying to do 30 computers, the faster you go, the more you mistype. And then you just type rmrf/, and then, well, I'll start over. I wanted to rebuild this computer anyway. So what we can drop files somewhere like temp, detect where the current user is in their home directory, move those files to the current place, and then chown the files to the correct user. Anybody not familiar with chown? Awesome, that's great. So basically we're putting them in temp, figure out where the user is, move the files, and then chown. And there's a couple different ways to do that, but if I had to do it in a pinch, that's probably how I do it. Also good for modular imaging. For those of you in my talk this morning, we talked about this, about using packages to do a thin build of a machine. We're talking about the exact same format here. So we've done payload free, we've installed applications, we've done combos, we're doing modular imaging. We're all in the same format. So this is a very, very versatile format. It's a very nice, multifaceted weapon in IT administration for you guys. So you can make use of packages with and without payloads for your imaging purposes. Things like Monkey to install with that user logged in. Monkey and these other tools work beautifully with packages. They understand the format, understand how they work. So let's make use of that. And don't forget portability. We're going to package this once and just use it over and over again. I can use the same package for modular imaging, something like Monkey. I can use it for one-off installs. We were talking at lunch with somebody who wanted to use the script to unhook iLife from the App Store. I had that installed, I just give it to them. Done. My package applied modular imaging, one-offs from customers, and now to another university. Same file. And I know his computer will understand it, because it's modular, and it's portable. That's really where I get excited about packages. Probably more than people should. So, these are shamelessly stolen from Gary Larissa. He had put out a blast to Mac Enterprise and asked for some best practices for packaging. He put them up on a site on Posterous or Posterous, however you call it, which is now offline. But I found a cache copy from Google, thank you Google, and have a link to the PDF at the end of the slides. So, tenets of packaging, we cannot assume the install method. Now, what do you mean by that? Well, we need to build this package to work in whatever situation it'll come across. So, multiple architectures. Let's say we're still supporting PowerPC machines. Anybody still supporting PowerPC G5s, iMacs, a little bit? Yeah. You may have a situation where you have a tool that'll go across both. And in that case, are we going to do 2 packages? Or are we going to do 1? My biggest frustration in Arts and Letters is when we're supporting Windows machines and there's a 32-bit image or 32-bit package and a 64-bit package. What is the problem? Put the logic in the MSI to have it figured out. Inevitably, people install the wrong one, and it doesn't work right. Same thing here. If it's PowerPC, we're going to put these apps in. If it's Intel, we're going to put these apps in. If it's Sense7, we're going to put these apps in. Put it all in the package, and let the package figure it out. Every time you don't, there's an opportunity to make a mistake. And I want to get everybody in this room out of the office 10 minutes early by using some package tricks. So, it may be used interactively, meaning you open it up on your computer, double-click it, and go that way. It may be used via command line, via the install process. We don't know. It may not be used on the boot volume. If you have 2 OS X installed, or you have your drive partition, or an external drive, it's got to work to that external drive. And there's good examples of packages out there that always assume you're starting at /. Even if I didn't want it there. That's a problem. We have to assume that we don't know. We can't assume at all. And so instead of saying /, we can use $3 to say boot volume. Or volume selected, not starting at /. We need to be simple. There's a lot of opportunity to make this enormously complex. And in your interest, as well as your users, it behooves you to keep this simple. So, Flash Player has started opening Safari after it installs to say, hey, I'm installed. Yeah, I know you're installed. You said it's successful. I don't need you opening that. So there are temptations to do that. Stay away. Make it clean and simple. They're not making it any easier on themselves. Do you have to reboot? A lot of people say, oh yeah, we should probably reboot after this. Do I have to? You have to assume that your user is in the middle of a big production cycle and has every CS6 app open and mail open, and to reboot would be a 10-minute ordeal. Do I have to reboot for most things? No. There are very few things for which I have to reboot. I don't have to reboot for Parallels, which has kernel extensions. I would think if anything I have to reboot for that. I don't. So unless you are doing something that has to absolutely reboot, don't. Again, make it easy for the user. Don't install more than what's necessary. Just because I download Flash Player doesn't mean I want Chrome and the Chrome toolbar and all this other crap that comes with it. Again, what's that? Yeah, ask. If you want to frustrate your customers, ignore all these. But just because I have an application, what's that? Yeah. Now let's say, okay, my app really does work better with Growl. Okay, there's a couple avenues. You could have a separate installer, or you could have it by default deselected as an option, but they can check to enable it. So different ways to do that. We want to delight the user, not bug them into hating your installers. So we go back to Adobe. You know, they do so much that I know they think is the right way, and it just infuriates everybody. And they just keep picking at it. Make your user excited. Make your user want to install stuff from you. Make it really nice. And part of this is also, there's a framework called Sparkle that a lot of applications like Evernote use to update within app. If I can do that, instead of having to download it every time, that's awesome. We also want to let the licensing work without the GUI. If you need to license your app, that's okay. But make it so that I don't have to have a GUI in front of me to do so. Especially for site licenses. If I can have some way to properly, legally register that product without having to paste in a code or go online to check in, that is awesome. Or at least delay that until the person opens it up for the first time on their own. Can you script it? Can you script this licensing? Kind of drop a file on the system that it recognizes. You know, for all the complaints that people have about CS6, there are serialization scripts that I can run afterwards. Not my favorite thing to do, but I can at least do that where the user doesn't see it. How easy is it for admins to revoke a license? This isn't in the packaging realm per se, but think about that. If I want to pull a license from FileMaker, from SPSS, for example, how easy is it for me to do that? Could I wrap that up in a package? I push out a revocation package over ARD, and I get those licenses back. Think about that. We also want to limit the number of pre- and post-install scripts. And I talk about the niceness of using scripts, and it is nice. But we need to keep something in mind. And that is, only script what cannot be contained in the payload. It sounds pretty obvious, but a lot of people are used to dumping everything in temp, or dumping everything at the root of the drive, and then a bunch of scripts move everything into place. Well, that's what the installer is for. Put it into place in the first place. We have installers from EFI that will drop packages into temp and then run those in the background. That's a post-install to run another package. What is going on? Firescan, the EPO, will drop an image, will drop a zip file decompress it, mount it, and then run something from that as part of the post install. What? Why? There's so many ways for that to break and for it to go wrong, it really doesn't make sense. Use your native Unix tools like move and copy and ditto and chown. Stay away from things like OSA script or going back to an Apple script. GUI scripting, stay away from that. It's just a mess. OSA script, I'm convinced, has a limited life cycle. We've seen so many of those bridges start to disappear. And I wouldn't be surprised if OSA scripting changed in the future. So stay away from GUI scripting. And be true to the OS. That's what I mean by that. What does that mean? If you're gonna support 10.5, it would probably be nice if you found a machine with 10.5 and tried it out. It's not enough to say, oh, yeah, this should work. Cups hasn't changed that much. Can't do that. Cannot do that. Test on each iteration, especially if you're touching system files. Test it on 10.7.0, 10.7.1, 10.7.2. All those downloads are still available. Test it and try to break it. The worst thing you want to happen is that you deploy a package and now somebody calls you and says, hey, my machine doesn't boot anymore. Which has happened to me. We used to modify Etsy authorization, which everyone's saying, oh, what are you doing? Yeah, we were crazy. There's a preference in system preferences that's like allow non-admins to unlock secure system preferences or something like that. And that's only modifiable in Etsy authorization. Which was when it was like sudo XML. It's not even a real XML file. So the only method we found to go and get it was we basically found a string and counted lines. And then we knew where to go. That was all fine in 10.6. And in 10.7 they added localization. So we just modified the script to count a different number of lines. And that was all fine. And then 10.7.4, Apple added more localizations. And they upgraded to 10.7.4, and we counted the wrong lines, and the wrong part of Etsy authorization got chopped out. You can't boot. You get to the gray screen, and this sort of comes in and out, and in and out, and in and out. And of course they were overseas too. That's one of those, go into the terminal. That's exactly what I say. So test with and without the GUI. We may use this interactively, we may use it through a deployment tool, so we need to make sure it works in both cases. Again, it seems pretty simple, but we need to check for this. And we need to check for non-boot volume installation. Does it work correctly? Even if your scripts look good, we need to test them to make sure that they work as intended. If it's not yours, don't touch it. If it's something you need to touch, like cups, for example, that's fine. But don't go rooting around just because you can. Touch only what you need to and get out. Make it a very focused package. That way, if there's an issue, you know exactly what you touched and what you didn't. Limit your opportunities to break something. Be descriptive. Even if I never, ever plan to have this be used in the GUI, I need to be descriptive in the README, the information. Have it tell what you're doing on the system. Just in case. If I hand it to somebody at Syracuse and they open up the installer, it shouldn't just say, welcome to the iLife installer. That doesn't tell me anything. Use descriptive naming, also good, and your scripts especially. If you're scripting, comment them so we can go back. We can use a tool like Pacifist to go in and look at that script later. We want to know what's going on. Any questions about the tenants? In that case, let's talk about some packaging tools. So, who here is packaging today? And who's still using PackageMaker? I love it. I like PackageMaker. Who's using Composer? Excellent. How about package build and product build? Like mainline stuff? Oh, so if I screw this up, you guys won't know. Yeah, all right. What else were we using for packages? Who's using packages? Okay. For Iceberg, its predecessor? Okay. Anybody else using a tool that we didn't mention? I know there's others out there. I can't remember them all. The Luggage, yes. That's a good point. And there's going to be a talk on the Luggage Friday morning that I would encourage you to attend. We'll talk about that. So, PackageMaker, my favorite. Apple said stop using it. They're not developing any longer. It's been replaced by package build and product build. So they'll tell you not to use it anymore. If you're still using it, of course, like most stuff, it's going to keep working. It's not like Cinderella. It's just going to turn off. But I would look at alternative tools out there. If you're new to it, don't get started with it because at some point you're going to have to move anyway. Next one is a package build and product build. So these are Apple's current tools for packaging. They're all command line based. I know it's a different mindset than something like PackageMaker, but that's why we're talking about packages as well as an alternative. That's more of a GUI flavor. Simple component package files. There's a flag called no payload that you can use to create packages without payloads that are just scripts. And this is a nice reversal because we used to have to hack packages into doing this for us, and now it just works natively. And so Apple's been listening. You can then take component packages into product build, and you get what's called a distribution type package. So when we talk about a component package files, I'm taking one thing, whether it be a file or a folder of files, and I'm putting it in X. And that's it. I can have scripts on that. I'm taking one thing and putting it one place. Now, a lot of applications, a lot of installs we have, I have 3 things going to 3 places. So I don't do that in one component install. I do it in 3 component installs, and I wrap that up into a product. And we'll see how that works on both package build, product build, and in packages. Product build is also the tool to use if you're submitting your app to the App Store. That's the exact same tool you use. Best resources are honestly the man pages that Apple provides. There's some discussion online, but the best one I've found is still the man pages. And these are online if you don't have them on your computer. Next one up is Composer. Got a lot of Composer users in the room. That's good. This is a commercial utility from Jamf. I think it's $100, and it's part of the suite, but you don't have to buy it with the suite, so you can just have that by itself. It's really easy doing snapshots. So you can hit start, make your changes, and hit stop, and it'll show you exactly what changed on the system. So if you're doing a lot of little stuff, that's nice. If you think about recording Apple scripts, it's the same idea. It'll just record your changes for you. And PackageMaker would do that too. You can modify existing packages if you want to make changes. You can open them up and toy with them and then repackage them. It's nice. If you're using Casper Suite, it's a great companion tool. Works very well. So if you're invested in Casper, Composer is probably going to be something you're going to look at. So there's the web page for Composer.
I had one important thing about this, which is inside your computers with developer.
And is that something that passes through Gatekeeper? Okay. And that's an important point. As we get through, we'll talk about Gatekeeper a little bit later. But with Gatekeeper, you have additional restrictions on packages and applications that are downloaded. They need to be signed with an Apple developer account certificate. Now, I haven't talked about that so much so far because if I'm doing this inside of my organization, it's not going to flag that. It's really when you start downloading packages from the net, and it sees it as a download versus just, here's a file. But once you start doing that or distributing something where the public can go download something, you're going to have that flag. And I'm sure we've all seen that message. Can I open this because it's from an untrusted source or whatever they call it? And there's ways around that, but again, lots of user behavior changes to get that to work. I had a user with a laptop who tried to install Drag and Dictate, and it was like the 10.6 or 10.7 version, which still works in 10.8. It's not supported, but it still works. But it's not signed, so they got that message. Cannot open because it's not signed. So what do you think her troubleshooting step was? It doesn't work. I know, before she called me. No, worse. She turned off File Vault. She's like, well, I thought this was related to File Vault. So she decrypted the entire drive. It wasn't File Vault. Sorry, let's make a new key. Let's store the new key in there. So yeah, your user's gonna do crazy stuff. So you gotta watch out for that. So Luggage, we mentioned Luggage. Open source project, it's all on GitHub. Their intention was to replace PackageMaker. I think there's other tools like that out there, but that was their intent. And for those of you used to using makefiles, we use makefiles again to build a package. Tries to solve this issue of not being able to peer review what has changed. And that is one of the true frustrations that people have had with PackageMaker. I make a package, I come back 3 months later, I change it. What has changed? I'm not really sure. And it's hard to tell. But Luggage helps out with that. And you can examine diffs on these makefiles to figure out exactly what has changed. So it solves that problem very well. Jeremy's done a talk Friday morning called Carry On Luggage. If you're interested in all of this, I would encourage you to go see that. And there's the two websites I found. This is GitHub, where the Luggage code is stored. And then this is the website just for general knowledge about Luggage. Some good documentation there, too, in that first link. Bless you. Next one we'll talk about is packages. We had some packages users here, right? This is a free GUI alternative to PackageMaker. This is what I'm spending most of my time with these days because I did appreciate the GUI-ness of PackageMaker. Same guy who did Iceberg, he has deprecated Iceberg and told everyone, hey, go use packages instead. Why didn't update Iceberg? I don't know. But that's what he did. It does use GUI-based logic, so you can very easily see in a graphical way the flow of logic and how that works. And that's a nice feature. You can do both raw and distribution packages. And by raw, it's the same thing as these component packages I talked about earlier. So you take one piece and put it one place. They would call that a raw package or a component package. However, as of today, packages cannot sign packages that will pass through Gatekeeper. Even if signed with a valid account, it will come up and say, hey, this is not valid. And it's missing something in the certificate chain. So he says this on his site. It says, if you need to use this, use product build. So he even references product build as a tool to use. If this isn't a big concern for you, if they're not going public, then you don't necessarily have to worry about this. But if you are, you may want to pick another product to work with. There's the website for packages and more information. Any questions so far? Yeah.
One of the other seminars there's talk about after utility called package sign.
I haven't worked with that too much, but that should be, I think it's just a sign, right? Yeah. It may. He actually references product build as the tool. And I haven't spent enough time with package sign to know when that's appropriate. So we talked about Gatekeeper. So what's the whole big deal? So Gatekeeper is introduced in 10.8 as a way to alert users to unsigned packages. Say, hey, this package is not signed. There's increased malware and random crap going around. So we need a way to block that. So you're basically using product sign with your Apple ID, your developer ID certificate, and you are signing that, basically putting the stamp of approval from Apple on there. Yes, this is an authorized Apple developer. Good to go. So when a user downloads your package and runs it, they don't see that error or that warning. Again, user behavior doesn't have to be changed. When you're not using the GUI installer, unsigned packages don't matter. They will just pass through. If you just use installer or monkey, not as a logged in user, it'll just go through. Which to me is a little sketchy that it doesn't block those. But of course we cannot assume we're always going to use the GUI or that we're never going to use the GUI. So for that we're going to use man product sign. I think that's product sign, yeah. So there's a man page for that, and that will help with that specifically. All right. Now let's get into some demos. Any questions before I get into the demos? All right. So what I've done here in the slides, I put exactly what I'm going to put in the terminal so you can see how this works. Let's okay. So in this example, I needed to find a tool for which I needed to put two things in two separate places and have them work. And one good example of this is Google Earth. How many here have installed Google Earth before? Now this is something that I really can't do as a drag and drop. And Monkey can do, something like Monkey could do the application, but the plugin needs to go into a separate folder. And where it likes to put that plugin is in the user's internet plugins instead of the system-wide library plugins. So only the current user can use that. So I'd rather put it in library internet plugins. And so how would I package this? Now, I want to put this in Monkey. I want both things to happen. I want it in one package. I want people to be able to download it and just run it, and it's all put right in place. So in here, we're going to use package build to first use this analyze flag. And what this is going to do is create a plist of the components of the package. What the plist does is give us all the options that are already specified in the application, and we can choose to modify those if we want before we go and build it into a package. In this case, I won't choose to change anything, but I'll show you the steps so you can see how that's done. So this, oops. What we'll do here is just verbatim go here. So here's the folder we're looking at, and all we have are the application and the plugin. Oops. Okay. So there is our directory. There's our two things. We'll blow this up a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is analyze the actual app. And all it says is writing a component property list to the file name. I specified the file name above. And if you look back in the Finder, now there are 3 files. And here's that plist that it made. So you can see here this plist that it made. If I want to go in there and change anything or edit this, I can. In this case, I won't, but this was generated by package build. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing for the plugin. And then again, we have another file right there. This is based on the name, so didn't have anything to put in there. Okay. So now we've got these analyzed, we've got those property lists, and if we chose to, we could have those. So what do we do now? Well, now what we're going to do is actually build them. So what we're doing, we're using package build again. We're not specifying analyze. We're actually going to build a package. The root is that application. The component plist is that plist file that we made just a little bit ago. The install location is at applications Google Earth.app. Now we can also recreate the structure of the system. So if we have something going to, let's say we want to put all this in one package. I can create an applications folder, I can create a library folder, create an internet plugins folder, and sort of rebuild that structure, and it'll put everything into place. The one issue I have with that is that it'll inherit those permissions too. So if I create an applications folder, it's going to have my permissions. And when I install that, the system's applications folder will now be owned by me instead of by root, like it should be. So for that reason, I take the exact thing and drop it right into place. I don't try to go all the way through. So there's the install location, there's the version. I just picked 1.0, but you can pick whatever you want. There's the identifier. In this case, I did edu.nd.googleearthapp.package, and then the actual package itself is the last argument. And I do the exact same thing for the plugin, just the different names. So we'll take this. And it's going to build me a package. The version of the package, and that's what's going to be written in the receipt when you install it. So if you do a 1.1, then you bump that version number, and it knows it can upgrade it. All right, we'll do the same thing for the plugin. All right. So now if we go back to the Finder, we have two new files, and they are packages. So there's the plugin, and there's the app. Now I could, if I wanted to, take this and just install each one. So I have one application going here, one application going there. I can be good with that. Well, let's not stop there. Let's use product build and combine these into a distribution package. So we're going to use this synthesize flag with the product build command to say, take this package and create an XML file that contains information on both. An XML file will be used later in product build to build a distribution package. Okay, so it says that's easy. Go to the Finder. Now I have another file. Distribution of the XML file. Again, we can go in here and change information if I want. There's some great pages on the developer website that talk about this distribution of the XML file, and there's 40 different options that you can specify. Again, I'm just sticking with the defaults, but there is fantastic documentation from Apple on this.
What about, like, you have a new file for our pictures?
Yeah.
And the new file is digitally signed by file.
Mm-hmm.
Would this change, when you gotta, if I want to install files or something else, would it change the signature, the digitally signed, anything to modify it?
In this case, you would go straight to the product build and synthesize those, and it shouldn't. It shouldn't. That's a good question. I can't guarantee that, but it shouldn't. In that case, you may want to use something like, well, it should. If not, you could use product sign and sign the whole thing, and that should work. So there's our distribution file. Next step, we're actually going to build a distribution installer. And there we are. And there's my finished package. Oops. If I open it up, I don't see much because I didn't specify the name, things like that. But that is an installer that has both things in there. And if I install it, the app goes to applications, and the plugin goes to library internet plugins. That's it. I've made a distribution file. See, you're banging your heads for about 2 hours trying to figure out how this works. But once you do, it is quick to get these going.
You asked about the permissions of those files. Ultimately,
You can choose to inherit permissions or not, and if you don't, when you build the component packages, you can specify what those permissions are. Now, in a tool like Packages, it's actually easier to do because you can graphically select who has read write execute. You can set your sticky flag in here, all that. So if you're going to do a lot of that, I would recommend that. If permissions are good at the start, you can just import it and it'll inherit those permissions as they are.
so in terms of what access or elevators actually installing user actually require, would it automatically talk for
Yes. Depending on where it's going, and the PackageMaker acted the same way. Or if it knows it's going in X directory, it'll ask for admin rights. And there's a flag you can also set. Let's say it's not going in somewhere that demands admin rights, but you want it anyway. You can flip a flag that says admin rights required, or admin authorization required. Okay. So that's your quick and dirty package build and product build. Any questions about that before we jump into packages? Yeah.
So you landed the necessary express in the user space, so the user library references?
That's where the plugin likes to go in the user preferences. I decided to put it in library, internet plugins, instead of the user library, internet plugins, because I want it available to all users. In this case, I was able to modify it and take care of that in the package. And because I built this package, I, the admin, get to decide where it goes. So there's no confusion later. And all the user does is double click and go, and they've got it installed. I think you were next. Yeah.
So the analyze point there analyzes just the distribution that you downloaded from Modular.
It analyzes that specific component. So in the case of the download, I took the app and the plugin and moved them to a local space, so a folder on my desktop, and it just analyzed that component. So the component is a folder or a file. In the case of an application, that's really a folder, right? So it analyzed that specific component. This chunk goes here. Now, for those of you using PackageMaker in the past, you'll notice that after you build that package, let's say I want this folder here and this folder there and this application there and this there, there's actually like 6 or 7 different packages, one for each component. So the structure is just the same as before. So each component has its own package. It goes here and here and here. Yeah.
You combine big packages files as you want.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't.
Go crazy.
How crazy? I've had as many as when I would deploy user preferences, I would drop 10 or 12 things in there, and it didn't care. Installer took 20 seconds instead of 10, but I didn't care. Yeah.
This overall container package, is that the problem meta package?
It's a little bit different. The meta package has distribution packages inside of it. So think about that. So Monkey, for example, the installer is a meta package, and it in itself has several distribution packages inside of it. So that's basically a container for multiple distribution packages. All we're doing is building one distribution package. If I took that into another distribution, it would be a meta package. Is because each component gets its own, we call a component installer, or component package. So if you do this with PackageMaker, you will see if I install 12 different things, I get 12 packages out of that, and it builds a distribution package for me that has package 1 goes here, package 2 goes there, package 3 goes there. If they're going in the same place, I think. You can drop them in the same place and move it later, but that's probably making it more complex than it needs to be. Plus, if I open this up with something else later, like Composer, it's going to be easier to understand that this package goes here, this package goes there. Yeah. Distribution package contains one or more component packages. So the app was a component package and the plugin was a component package. A meta package contains one or more distribution packages. So you can see the sort of the hierarchy there.
So if you have a package, just that's a package.
That's a component package.
That's a component package. Two of them together is a distribution package.
Yeah, once you...
And then you put that in some other app that would be another package.
Meta package just contains distribution.
I guess I'm unclear why the package you built is the meta package.
Because it doesn't... There's only... It contains two component packages. Component packages. A distribution contains more than one component package. Now I can actually upgrade a component package or a raw package to a distribution. Distribution also gets me all the GUI stuff. So the name, README, license, stuff like that. That's all part of a distribution package.
So those component packages don't give you that?
No, it's very basic, just here, go install this. And so packages will actually give you, and I'll show you this, you can take a raw package and upgrade it to a distribution package, and then it gives you all that extra nice stuff. All right, so let's look at packages real quick. So here's package, and what I get? Distribution and raw packages. Cool. So let's start out with a raw package. And by default, it puts it in the home directory. We'll leave it there. We'll just call it Google app, Earth app. And here's what I get. So what's nice, you get exclusions here, so I can say remove DS store, remove nib files. A lot of this stuff is based on being compiled from Xcode. So if you're having an application that you compile and you want to package up, it'll clean all that crap out for you, because you don't want to send that to the user. I can do an identifier. So edu.nd.app.pkg, for example. There's my version. What do I do when I install? Do I restart, shut down, log out? Do I overwrite directory permissions? Probably not. There's my payload. So you can see here, there's a little bullseye, a target. That's where the target is. That's where it's starting from. So I need to go find my app. Go to the desktop, Google Earth, and I'm going to start with the app. And I'll say, do I keep the owner in group? Sure. And then, is the path relative to the reference folder, to the project, or the absolute path? I'll do the absolute path. And then the target is still to the root of the drive. I don't want to install it to the root of the drive. I want to install in applications. So I'm going to click Applications and say Set. So in package build, when I would actually say destination location, and I would specify it, that's the same thing here. Now I can go back to the app, and I can change the owner and the group. I can change permissions, set bits if I want. Once I'm done, I can also do scripts, pre and post install. Yeah.
So when you set the owner, you want to make it universal. Like, it might not set to your name.
It is. I would look at what the output, if you install it normally, what is it assigned to that way? Most of your applications in the applications folder will be, root admin? So you probably want that same structure. You can do your comments through your scripts once you're done. You build it, we'll save it, and there I go. So there's my component package. Let's do this again. We'll call this Google plugin. Got the same thing. Change this again. edu.nd.google. All right, need to go find my plugin. It's going to go right here. Do that. Our target is actually library internet plugins. So we'll set that. Look at our thing, and there it is. It shows it as a folder, but it's really a plugin. Everything's a folder in OS 10. There are no files. Even files are secretly folders. So there's my architecture, my kind, all that stuff. I'm ready to go. I'll keep permissions as they are. I'll build. Sure. Build. Done. Cool. So now, where it actually stores these is right here. So remember, I created those in the... There's my package. And there's my package. So now, let's make a distribution. Google Earth package. So, in this case, you have a little different view. And here I can also customize my presentation. What's also cool about this, I can select my localization. So let's say I'm doing my introduction. I'm going to add a custom introduction, and I get to pick my language. So I can have introductions in 27 different languages. So again, if you're sending those to customers or users outside the US, people who are going to be reading it in French or Spanish or Chinese or Portuguese or whatever you have, portability, right? Make sure your users can read it. I've had to install language apps that are only in French. Holy, that was bad. You trying to translate word by word? Getting the French teacher, come here, read this to me. Well, that was bad. But all I'm going to do is import these packages. I've already got them done. So let's go find them. There's the app. There's the plugin. There's my two. I build it. I'm skipping all the customization stuff. There you go. So now in Google Earth package, there is my finished meta package. And that's actually a meta package. Now why that showed up as a meta package, I'm not actually sure. Alright. That's two examples of how you can really quickly build packages. You can spend an insane amount of time trying to get it perfect and just right. But quick and dirty, that's how you can get started. That's the foundation upon which you build everything else. Yeah. No, Packages is a separate third-party, not open source, but free utility. In the, where is it? Just got a couple minutes left. Come on.
Did you say earlier that Packages is a part of the PackageMaker? Is that right?
No.
Oh, okay.
Packages is a separate replacement for PackageMaker, but it's not a replacement for by Apple. So I apologize if that's replacement for Iceberg, which was by the same guy. So here, that's the link for Packages. Iceberg and Packages, yeah. So all the good things come from France, right? Packages and Deploy Studio. So we did this. The only resource I have is that PDF. Again, it's on a site that's no longer active, and I don't know how long Google will hold on to that cache file. So I basically made a PDF and put it on my box drive. So you can go there and download that, and I'll just leave that up there until I forget why it's up there. And you can go look at that, and that contains those tenets. They actually call it the commandments of packaging. It's a little bit different. I added some of my commentary into this presentation. And you guys were getting all these slides, so if you can't write this down, don't worry about that. All right, any questions? Yes?
Can you touch on the advantages and disadvantages of having dedicated clean packaging machines? I tried to do that. I tried to compare data. For example, we had a question earlier about ownership.
Yeah. If you can afford it and you have that resource, that's fine. You might also consider not doing it on a machine, but in a VM. So you can have it as at a state, build whatever you want, wrap it up, and then back that VM back to where you want. And it's a ready. When we were building our thin install, I did it all in a VM. So I hit markers. I would build from there. I screwed that up, go back to the state, and I could back it up all day long. So instead of a machine, I would get some more RAM and get a VM and do it that way. Yeah.
How would, like, the example you gave for having an app and running and driving that with using the tools you just built, Payload 3, how do
you can use package build, and there's a payload free flag, and there's another argument to specify the script, the post install script. Point to the script and it'll build it up for you, and that's it.